A.G.A.P.W, η ομογένεια κοντά σας.
Welcome everybody, καλώς ήρθατε. I'm very happy personally to welcome you and to welcome you on behalf of the A.G.A.P.W team. Ambassador Kounalakis, we are so touched that you came all the way from California. You love A.G.A.P.W and you love New York, and we love you back. Thank you. We are very proud to have the first Greek-American woman to serve as ambassador of the United States, accepting our award tonight. We're very humbled. And I must say that the little that I got to know you at the personal level while we've been corresponding, I think the highest of you. And you've been a great role model for us busy New Yorkers. You can see the phone never stops ringing. Ambassador Spinellis, Mrs. Spinellis, thank you. Ambassador Philippou, Mrs. Philippou, welcome to New York. Ambassador Vassilis, welcome. We have great new people from the motherlands, Greece and Cyprus, so we keep the bridge very active. Tsakopoulos, the wife of the Consul General of Greece, who couldn't be here tonight, but he comes to almost all A.G.A.P.W events, so we will forgive him. We have Anthusa instead, and I think she counts for two. And we are very proud to also have with us the first Greek-American Cypriot Consul member, Costa Constantinidis. Judge George, thank you, an honor to see you here, Mrs. Prunis. And last but not least, Mrs. Tsilas. She has been the alter ego of A.G.A.P.W. When I started, I had no clue what I was doing, to be honest. Penny, may I call you Penny, she was my psychological support, and she still is. She worked very hard for tonight. And her husband, Ambassador Tsilas, who the last man couldn't be here tonight, they've been with A.G.A.P.W from the beginning, and they've been great supporters, and we thank you. Thank you. And thank each one of you. I see a lot of old friends, old faces. Mr. Papakonstantinou, the director of the Greek Trade Office, Mrs. Papakonstantinou, Marina. We have I see the wife of the president of the Athenian Society, very active. I don't know if your husband is here, I don't see him. Your son is here, okay, so hi, we have the future generation. Dr. Papademetriou, the president of Liver Institute, vice president of Bard College is here. Dr. Liana Theodoratou, the director of the Onassis Foundation at NYU, the chair of our scholarship committee. Thank you. Dr. Rania Donopoulos, she is the director of gender and economics at the Liver Institute. Dr. Catherine Schwab. We don't just have Greeks here, we have a lot of Philhellenes in A.G.A.P.W. Fairfield University. She just had an exhibit at the Greek Consulate. There's so many people, I could spend the rest of the night thanking everybody. But I would like to just say a couple of words about A.G.A.P.W. We started 4 years ago. We were incorporated in March of 2010. And thank God we're celebrating our 4th year. And I hope we will be celebrating our 40th year. And we have invites to start chapters in other states. We keep getting emails from other states to open up A.G.A.P.W chapters there. Who knows, maybe in 4 years we'll be across the country. Greek-American professional women are the new face of the community. And we need to incorporate them into our organizations. A.G.A.P.W, I feel personally, I'm a Maniatisa, so we're very proud people. I can dare say that we're feeling a void in the community. We're feeling a void. Times have changed. We had a young lady outside who is an executive with a cosmetics company. She had to run to an interview at 7:15 for a second interview with CEO. She came here, she helped out until 7, she ran to the interview and is coming back. This is the new Greek-American woman. And A.G.A.P.W is speaking to them. They are born in Greece, like myself, 1/4 Greek, 1/8 Greek. They're still Greek. They love Hellenism. Our scholarship winner is the first one in her family to ever speak Greek. Christina, she will speak later. So we are representing the connection with the old, like myself. I'm an immigrant. I came here not speaking more than 5 words of English. I could only say hello and goodbye, and I ended up getting my PhD in New York. And A.G.A.P.W is representing us, the old ones, and the new ones. So we need your support as we move forward. The ones who were born and raised in Greece, the ones who are 3rd, 4th, 5th generation descendants. This is the new Greek-American community. And thank you for your support. And I'd like to welcome our beautiful MC, Master of Ceremonies, Vaya Tritas. And Vaya was the scholarship winner. This beautiful young lady was A.G.A.P.W scholarship winner last year. And we started a tradition last year with Ms. Kavras, Alexandra Kavras, who sits there in the back with her mom. She was our scholarship recipient 2 years ago, so she was last year's MC. So we'd like to continue this chain. Just a little bit about Vaya. Vaya is currently a junior at the New York University Gelatin School of Individualized Studies. She concentrates her degree in Hellenic studies through classic epics, drama, poetry, alongside a variety of 20th century texts. And Vaya is fascinated with the narration of the self, especially in the cases of mistreated and displaced peoples, and has extensively studied race and ethnicity in America, as well as the definition of identity in the post-colonial Middle East. So what a better person than to take over and continue with the program tonight. Thank you, Vaya.
tonight to honor Ambassador Eleni Kounalakis, and I must say it is an inspiration to be in a room full of creators of social change, such as Ambassador Spinellis, Ambassador Vassilis Philippou, Council Member Kostas Konstantinidis, and Ambassador Loucas Tsilas, creators of poetry, art, and music, such as Nana Simopoulos, Karen Hillman, and Flora Kinu, and ultimately creators of hope. Even my creator, my lovely mother, is right there tonight. A.G.A.P.W has celebrated the creation of woman, the merging of aged wisdom and young potentiality, and has carved a place in the Greek community through its determination to acknowledge leaders who have shaped our environment and outlook, and seek future leaders who have shown promise in doing the same. It is once again such an honor to be with you tonight. At this moment in time, I would like to invite a leader of change, Ambassador Spinellis, to the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, kalispera. Being here with you tonight to honor Ambassador Eleni Tsakopoulos Kounalakis is, of course, not only a pleasure and honor, but a very big moment, I think. Ambassador Tsakopoulos Kounalakis has been a distinguished ambassador who has served in various positions, always with great success. The Association of Greek American Professional Women is also a very exceptional organization with a remarkable work, action in the field of women's opportunities and leadership in the Greek American community. It was only last week that the Commission on the Status of Women in the United Nations ended its annual session by adopting agreed conclusions, reiterating that the empowerment of women and girls should be in the center of the global development agenda. The education and the empowerment of women are the most important steps towards the development of Greek American women in New York and elsewhere. Allow me, after all, to quote Sophocles, who wrote that what a house bloated with luxury ever became prosperous without a woman's excellence? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to repeat that I am very glad to participate in this award gala in order to honor Ambassador Tsakopoulos Kounalakis, as well as to award the Excellence Christian Scholarship. Thank you very much for the honor of having invited me tonight.
Thank you, Ambassador Spinellis. We would now like to call Ambassador Vassilis Philippou to the podium.
Ambassador Spinellis, Ambassador Kounalakis, dear Olga, Speaker of City Hall, dear friends. First and foremost, I would like to extend my sincere admiration of the organization A.G.A.P.W, an organization with a progressive vision and substance that has proven to be a powerful catalyst in furthering the opportunities for the professional Greek American woman. Additionally, I wish to congratulate A.G.A.P.W for their decision on honoring a woman that is the very epitome of what this organization can consider as one of the most successful and well-established professional Greek American women. The woman being Ambassador Kounalakis. She does not need much of an introduction as her reputation precedes her, but permit me a few words in praise of the ambassador. Upon reading the various literature on Ambassador Kounalakis, apart from the obvious milestones of the professional, what struck me greatly was the multidimensional aspect of the ambassador. Academically, politically, and professionally, Ambassador Kounalakis is a successful woman in all possible realms. She has had a plethora of outstanding successes that range from ambassador to Hungary to a thriving real estate business to receiving an honorary doctorate in law from the American College of Greece. And very importantly, she's a philanthropist that has founded 2 university chairs in Hellenic studies, both chairs focusing on understanding the origins of Athenian democracy. Furthermore, she has also established lecture series at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars. Lastly, a most admirable, a wife and a mother of 2, has proven to be a very model professional Greek American woman. My praise again to A.G.A.P.W for honoring this woman. with an impressive trajectory, both politically and professionally. Thank you.
But part of the reason I hadn't been speaking is because it was so important to me to write down as much as I could and everything I could remember before it started to fade away. My husband, my children, and most especially I realized as it was happening that it was the honor and the privilege of my life to serve as an American ambassador. To serve as the first Greek-American ambassador ever, woman, excuse me, we've had men, was also a privilege. And I had a very close relationship with the embassy, the Greek embassy in Hungary, and also had a lot of opportunity to go down to Greece at the same time when I was there. So where can I begin? You know, I know there are a lot of young people in the room, and one of the things that you might wonder is, how do you become an ambassador if you have been a business person? And most of the distinguished guests here tonight, the excellencies, ambassadors and consul generals who are here, have grown up through the foreign service of Greece. And it's the same for most of our diplomats from the United States. So if you go into the State Department and you meet foreign service officers, they take the Foreign Service exam, usually right out of college. They have a deep interest in global affairs. Many of them very often speak other languages. Certainly they have to have a facility with other languages. They start at a young age and they work their way up through the ranks to one day hopefully become an ambassador. But the United States has this very unusual system where 3 out of 4, sometimes 2 out of 3, but historically it's been 3 out of 4 of our US ambassadors are career diplomats. 1 out of 4 has been a person like me who is taken from outside of the Foreign Service and brought in. And I will tell you very sincerely that when I first arrived at the State Department, after wanting to be an ambassador for so many years, after knowing so many ambassadors, but never being in the Foreign Service, and suddenly realizing what an enormous responsibility it was, even I started to wonder, what is the wisdom of this system when you have all of these trained people and yet you take private sector individuals, sometimes people in business, sometimes people from think tanks, from universities. Why do we do this? And it took me a while to sort of figure it out, but what I realized is that in our country we have a very strong belief that the private sector and that entrepreneurship and that business is adds an enormous amount to the fabric of our country and the strength of our country. And that having those type of people brought into our foreign service improves it, shakes things out, it provides the kind of leadership that can help the diplomats who've been in the process for, growing up in the process, see the way private sector decision making is done, and how the thinking, frankly, is just simply quite different. So, so my first experience, Penny, when you asked me about it, was simply recognizing that what our embassies and what our ambassadors do from the United States around the world is enormously important, and the people who work on the issues, who implement our foreign affairs, are highly trained, dedicated, and capable individuals with enormous responsibility. And so the first thing that I set about doing was to learn as much as I could and to listen as carefully as I could to my staff to make sure that I held myself to the same performance standard as any career diplomat, and hopefully also managed to bring something to the table.
Did you got to choose your number two?
No, my deputy was assigned. When I arrived in Hungary, I had a deputy who had been in Hungary for almost 3 years. His name is Jeff Levine, enormously talented. He's now the American ambassador in Estonia. But he was only there for a few months. And Jeff will be a lifelong friend for me. He trained me very, very quickly, knowing that this embassy that he cared so much about and the people there he cared so much about were going to have me as a leader, and he wanted to make sure that I was prepared as possible. So I was very, very fortunate. And then a few months later, I had my second deputy, Tim Betts, who is now serving in Saudi Arabia. And he was enormously, enormously talented. But we, I went to UC Berkeley and for graduate school of business. And the theme at UC Berkeley is that you cannot do anything alone, that you must work with other people, identify your objective, mobilize around the objective, and then move forward to get it done. And so when I arrived in Hungary and suddenly you have this very strict chain of command, American ambassadors are 5-star generals in the Foreign Service. And, no one, anything you say is taken as an order by your staff. When you walk into the room, the officers will stand, and not just stand, but stand at attention until you tell them that they can sit down. And they're very, very careful about making sure never to contradict you. And yet for me, being able to find good solutions requires open dialogue. And so one of the things that I worked very, very hard to do was to create an environment with my senior officers, and even some of the junior officers, where I wanted them to tell me what they really thought about things. And that type of collaboration, I'm absolutely ensured that in Hungary, during what was a very difficult time, not just for what was happening around Hungary, but also in Hungary, that we were able to navigate the fairly, rough waters of those times. But at the same time, what I also recognized was that I couldn't be everybody's friend, everybody's best friend. There is a chain of command for a reason in the Foreign Service, and someone is responsible, and someone has to provide clear leadership. And that person is the ambassador. So it was a new role for me, but I will tell you one that I enjoyed very much and that I learned quite a bit about.
Well, unfortunately, too many questions pop out of my mind, but I shouldn't take the time. But I got to ask you that, since we started with the career and so on. Did you really, usually the career ambassadors, envy the political appointees because they think, or they say also, that the political appointees, because they are political appointees, they can pick up the phone and call their prime minister or call the minister of foreign affairs and have direct orders from them. So at least they don't feel the responsibility so heavy. Did you have this those cases?
That's very often said, that what political appointees, as I was talking about before, bring to the table, another thing we bring to the table, is that very often we have personal relationships with the president. And I certainly did. But I can honestly tell you that the issues that we were confronting in Hungary were never at the level that I would pick up the phone and call the President of the United States. So that career officers would think that you could do that, well, I suppose if it were something very, very important, then the President certainly knows who you are and has faith in your leadership. But I really think that it's more relationships within the White House, relationships within the State Department, and relationships with the administration, many of whom also come in from the outside and are not well known to the career officers. But even beyond that, I'll tell you, I was in real estate development. Very often to solve problems, I had to pick up, call people I didn't know, and insist on something. And I was never reluctant to do that. And so if I knew someone was in a position at the State Department of Commerce or the White House or anywhere, and I needed to find that person, I would find that person, tell them who I am, and ask for their time. And oftentimes I think that career officers didn't feel that they could do that quite as freely. But I also believe that once they saw me doing it, and I said, well, I'm the U.S. ambassador, I have authority, I have responsibility, and that's the person I need to talk to, that it changed their thinking as well. And as they mature and they grow through the system, they're maybe less tentative about following that kind of model.
What are your aspirations for the future, your plans, and how your experience is going to help to fulfill your plans?
Well, as I said, I haven't been speaking because I've been writing, and I've written now a first draft of a memoir, and it is primarily about my 3.5 years in Hungary. And what I realized was that when guests, including my body over there, came to visit, they would come into my office, and everyone always asked the same questions. What do you do? What is a typical day like? How did you get this position, and how do you operate an embassy? How does an embassy run? And so what I decided is that it's a story that, even if it's just for my own kids and my baptisteria, that I want to tell, and my nephews and nieces and others, that I want to tell this story, and I wanted to tell it while it was fresh in my mind in order to be able to share it. And it really is an ambition of mine, because when I was preparing, I looked for memoirs. I looked for people to tell the story so I would have an idea of what to expect. And it was very difficult to find. So that is an important priority of mine for the near future. But I will also tell you that when you've had the opportunity to serve the United States, what you realize is that, and as Greek Americans, we are enormously patriotic people. I mean, I don't need to tell all of you. We know how patriotic we are. In fact, I have a brother-in-law who is running for Congress here in New York State, and his mother, Eleni, is here tonight. If any of you are from his district, please vote for him. Yes, he's a Republican, and I was a member of this Democratic administration, but he has our values, and these are the values we wanted to see promoted. So, a little plug for George Demos, D-E-M-O-S. The size of our embassy in Hungary dwarfed every other embassy there. So the Greek ambassador, who was a very dear friend of mine, had 3 employees, 3 staff, himself and 2 others. I had 375 people. So we worked on everything from Russian organized crime to training mid-level policemen from as far away as Africa and deep into Eurasia. We had a robust engagement with the Hungarian government. We wrote reports that were sanctioned by Congress on everything from religious freedom to human trafficking in persons. And so our engagement was very, very deep. And so within the diplomatic community, this will come as no surprise to the Greek diplomats who are here, the Americans were often just, the ones who had the most information. And so we gather information, we share it with our friends and allies, we absorb that information back at the State Department. The State Department, of course, with the leadership of the administration. The administration decides U.S. foreign policy. The State Department is responsible for its implementation. The embassies, 200 or so of them that are very, very well staffed, very talented people, are responsible for implementing the foreign policy strategies on the ground and pick up information and send it back to Washington, and it kind of keeps rotating like this. And so the work that we do, the work the United States does, and as American taxpayers, you know, not just our patriotism as Greek Americans, but as American taxpayers, we support an enormous amount of work that is ultimately responsible for the security and the stability of the world. That is what we do. And, you know, it can get frustrating when it feels like we have to do everything, and it can get frustrating when we make mistakes, and certainly the United States has all of its foreign policy. I think no matter where you are in the political spectrum, you can agree that we have not always been right. But nevertheless, we can't just quit and go home, because if we didn't do this, nobody else would. And so there is something in the State Department lingo called the démarche. A démarche is an instruction from Washington. And so regularly, one of the main roles of the embassy is to receive these démarches from Washington of instructions of what to go talk to the host government about, to go and to sit down with our counterparts and ask for assistance, ask for them to consider voting particular ways in the United Nations on the votes, asking for troops, asking for all manner of things that we need from them, because as Hillary Clinton often said, we cannot solve the world's problems alone. But the world's problems will not be solved without the United States of America. President Clinton called us the indispensable nation, and that is what we are. So when you ask me, what am I going to do next? I will tell you that any and every opportunity that I have for the rest of my life to help to advance the values and the interests of the United States of America, that is what I will do. Well, I specifically, once I finish this book now, I have a few other things, including I was asked by my very old friend and a true Philhellene, Governor Jerry Brown in California, to head up a new advisory council for international trade and investment for California, which is something I'm very proud of, very excited to do.
We are very happy, Eleni, that you go to the memoir business because we will see you in New York. You will have to come here to promote the book and so on. So, of course, from A.G.A.P.W, I would extend you an invitation. So, and we will try to be the first to get you for your memoir here. Okay? And now I would like to know if you have some suggestions for high visibility women, how they can combine their obligations to the family and their obligations to their high visible job.
Okay, I have a couple things to say about that. First of all, a shout out to the gentlemen who are here in the room with us today, because Greek American women and Greek American men support each other. I think it's true. And I also honestly believe that in advancing the cause of parity for women requires anybody who believes in justice to be behind that, and that means the men as well. So thank you all for being here and for supporting A.G.A.P.W and supporting the women in your lives and wanting to see Greek American women excel and reach great heights. So kudos to all of you gentlemen. But I'd like to share this because I was thinking about Women's History Month, and what happened when I was during the time that I was at the State Department, Secretary Clinton issued a secretary's proclamation that fundamentally changed U.S. foreign policy related to women's issues. And here's how I'm going to describe it. In the past, you would think of security policy, security cooperation, economic policy, economic cooperation, other elements of our diplomatic engagement, and then somewhere, of course, was human rights. Somewhere underneath human rights came women's issues. And what Secretary Clinton realized, very much from her experiences in her life, is that that is out of balance for the importance of women's issues and having women at the table. That when you're talking about stability and security policy and anti-terrorism efforts, when you're talking about economic cooperation, economic security, when you're talking about all manner of our diplomatic engagement and the work that we do around the world with other countries, you need to know, where are the women? Are the women at the table? Are the women part of the dialogue? Are women part of the leadership? They have to be everywhere, because you cannot resolve the countries of any nation with only half of the people represented at the table. You need to have everybody. And to turn that into essentially our foreign policy was a very big deal. And honestly, I don't think anyone will ever think about the way that we engage with countries in ensuring the role of women is recognized. I mean, I don't think it will ever go back. It was sort of an aha moment, really. And I think that's just very important. And of course, it's also very important that here at home, we lead by example. And so there's been quite a bit of discussion out there. There always is, but it goes in waves. And the most recent waves of discussion talk about the fact that essentially over the last decade plus, the number of women in the highest levels of organizations has stagnated. So something like 8% of Fortune 500 companies of all Fortune 500 companies have women at the helm. 12% of all board members of Fortune 500 companies are women. And these numbers do not appear to be moving. The percentage of women in legislatures, in Congress, they are not moving, or they're certainly not moving in the right direction, which is toward parity. And so people are saying, well, why is this? It's a separate discussion when you're talking about women who are just, the millions, tens of millions of working women who are trying to do the best they can to put food on the table and take care of their children. That's one part of the story. The other part is what is happening that we have more than half of the women in the students in universities are women, and yet this is not translating to women in leadership in the same or anywhere near the same proportion. And I'm not an anthropologist, but what I can say in my own experience is that it's very important to never stop working toward your own advancement. And that even when you have a family, that you don't think, I have many friends, Madeleine Albright, she was not working full time by any stretch, and she was raising her children. Nancy Pelosi was showing pictures of Nancy. Nancy raised 4 children. It was only when her daughter Alexandra was a junior senior in high school that she ran for Congress. So the best advice that I ever had to your specific question about how do you do it all The best advice I ever had was you can do it all, just not all at the same time. Right? So when, being an ambassador, ladies, is actually an incredibly good job when you have small kids, because you don't have someone telling you every day where you have to be every moment. You get to decide where you're going to be every moment. And flexibility when you have little kids is very, very helpful. It's very hard to get. And those women who do advocate for changes in the corporate world to allow for the advancement of women, one of the things that they talk about very often is flexibility. And then I also think, without question, having the support of your friends and your family. As Greek American women, we have very often a lot of family support. Embrace it and call on it and rely on it if you can. But there's a woman, she's a judge in Chicago, and she was saying to me recently, she said, well, Greek American women help each other. And I was sort of surprised by this because, that's another part of the dialogue is women in the workplace often are not necessarily helping each other enough. And she said this, and I thought, my goodness, is that true? Do we help each other more than the average, the average in the United States? And I thought about my friends and about the Greek American women, my parents' friends, and how much support they have given me in my life, how much inspiration, how often they pulled me aside and said things like, you decide who you're gonna marry. Don't let anybody tell you who to marry. And others saying, you're a dynamo, you don't stop, you keep going, you make us all proud. And that really, really influenced and impacted me a lot. Penny, I think you might have been among those along the way, if I recall. So I think that's another big part of the story, but we still are not where we need to be in this country. We're certainly not anywhere near where we need to be in the world. And so there's a lot of work that is left to be done. But I do find that in our community, in our Greek American community, there is the kind of support there. We have to keep giving it to each other, keep advocating for each other, and keep saying, look, this is important. Olga is organizing, and we are going to be here. We're going to inspire each other, and we're going to network with each other. We're going to help each other, because it is important, and women's careers are important. And I will say this again, they are not just, the advancement of women is not solely the proprietary responsibility of other women. It is our community as a whole. And I do find, the Greek American men, whether it was Father Alex Karloutsos, whether it was Andy Manitos, I had, the Archbishop himself. The kind of support that I had was tremendous from them. Absolutely tremendous. Every step of the way, the Archbishop was always encouraging me, always insisting, always talking to me about important issues to make sure that I was up to speed and that I was educated. I sat for 10 years on the board of the World Council of Religions for Peace. He wanted to help me every step of the way and make sure I understood what was happening. And he shared things with me. He shared his thinking on things with me. And that support is there. We have to look for it, we have to ask for it, and we have to embrace it.
Maybe we should make an omission here. I don't know that we mentioned that Eleni has a very supportive husband, journalist, achieved and renowned journalist Marcos Kounalakis, who is apparently behind the big woman. So we should admit that. As the first Greek American woman ambassador, you are a pioneer. As a woman, you set the bar very high. I do hope that the members one of the members here will become one day an ambassador, and she will remember that you were the inspiration for this. In closing, I would like to summarize that Eleni has proved to be an able, smart, hardworking, and a great human being. Ancient Greeks, they used to say, "Archi andra diknisi," the authority, the office, proves the value of a man. Having Ambassador Kounalakis in front of us, it reminds me that we should change or update the saying of our forefathers. We should say that αρχή, γυναίκα ή άντρα δείκνυση. Eleni, congratulations. You make us very, very proud.
To present the Greek American Woman of the Year Award to Ambassador Eleni Kounalakis, we would like to call to the front Dr. Oda Alexakos and the A.G.A.P.W officers, Ambassador Tsilas and Ms. Tsilas, Ambassador Spinellis, Ms. Raila, Council Member Consul, Ms. Tsakopoulos, and Ms. Dan.
Ambassador Eleni Tsakopoulos Kounalakis.
Thank you very much.
American Professional Women honored for their leadership and remarkable contribution to international and interfaith peace, business, and philanthropy, while championing Hellenic ideals and democracy. Thank you. And may I say something? This was unanimously picked by all of us. It's a wave. So we said a wave, we're giving Eleni a wave. And Aphrodite couldn't be here tonight. We said it's the wave of women.
There we go.
So this is representing the wave of women for the 21st.
The application of what you said at the end.
Is a very special person to me. She's the glimmer in somebody's eye, and you know they have a light in them. And she's the person that my classmates and I all say that we want to be when we grow up. She's like a second mother to me in a sense, and she's only comes second to my mother. Liana is the definition of decadence, and she is more alive than all of my classmates combined. Alongside being the greatest NYU professor, she is also the director of the Alexander S. Onassis program in Hellenic Studies at New York University, and is also the chair of the Excellence Committee that is presenting the scholarship tonight. We would like to call Liana Theodoratu to present the A.G.A.P.W Excellence Tuition Scholarship Award.
On behalf of the Excellence Tuition Scholarship Committee, I would like to congratulate you, Ambassador Kounalakis, for your award. And I also would like to thank publicly Dr. Alexakos for all her work for A.G.A.P.W, and also and especially for the scholarship, which is so important for our students. All of us working with students owe her a heartfelt thanks. So thank you for this.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I am here to present to you Christina Bogos, who is this year's awardee of the Excellent Tuition Scholarship. I must say I'm extremely moved because 2 years in a row, 2 of my students got the award. Last year Vaia and this year Christina. I'm very proud of both of them. Christina Bogos came to NYU to study journalism and then she discovered Hellenic Studies. And with Hellenic Studies, as she says, she discovered herself, a part of herself, part of her culture. And she has actually decided to continue with Greek. She has learned Greek. She went to Greece this summer and she's going to continue with her Greek. But it's not only journalism and Hellenic studies that are her passions. She also has begun learning Arabic. She spent a whole semester in Abu Dhabi and she got a very prestigious fellowship from the US Department of State to study Arabic intensively in the summer in Morocco. So she will combine Greek and Arabic and journalism, and she wants to continue working on human rights, either as a journalist or as a lawyer, which is part of her vision of the future. So she also has written and continues to write continuously on different newspapers and journals, both on issues related to Greece and also to the Middle East. And we hope that she will be herself in the future an ambassador, I don't mean herself literally, but an ambassador for Greece and the Middle East. So please help me congratulate Christina Bogos.
Hello, σας ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ για αυτή την υποτροφία. Είμαι πολύ συγκινημένη. I would not be here today if I had not attended New York University and met Liana and all the other wonderful professors. I certainly would not have been able to learn the amount of Greek that I have learned as of right now. I'm the first person in my immediate family who can speak, read, and write modern Greek. And I've met some of my distant relatives that some family members have never met before. So I just wanted to thank Liana and the New York University and especially the A.G.A.P.W Foundation for believing in me. I'm very, very honored to be here with such accomplished women and men, and I can only hope to follow in their footsteps in the future. So, ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ, and I hope you have a great evening.
And here is to Greek American women, and may the future be ours. We've come a long way, and there's a long way to go, and it's going to be fun.
And what I do when I compose is I take instruments and influences from different parts of the world, and I combine them together. So the combination there was a sirto and a zembekiko with the Indian sitar. So this is a piece that I call Anasis.
Μέσα στις ανάσες μου και μέσα στους ήχους μου
Next month, A.G.A.P.W is having a conversation with Women Leaders series featuring actress, Oscar winner, Olympia Dukakis, and Stavroula Tosca, who is in the room, hiding in the back, who will be a filmmaker, will be doing the introductions. Make sure to come. It's going to be a beautiful event. To those of you who have met Olympia, she's a lot of fun. And then in May, we will feature one of my favorite writers, Ioanna Karatjaferi, who is here in the room, just arrived from Greece. Ioanna Karatjaferi. Is Vassilis still here? Okay, Vassilis was here. We will have a one-act performance inspired by the life and work of the extraordinary Ioanna Karatjaferi, who has so much to teach us all.